capitalism is the rule of profits. It's an economy that functions in the interest of profits. Well, socialism is when the economy functions to serve the country. Socialism is a planned economy. It's when the people of a country come together and take control of their economy and force it to work in the interest of the public. That's the difference between capitalism and socialism. That's the definition that I can agree on. People have asked me what socialism would be like in the United States. I've given them 4 basic steps. Number 1, right now we're having a huge boom on the oil and energy markets, right? At this point, because of hydraulic fracking, we're producing more oil than most of the world. I believe we're 3rd in terms of oil production in the world, and we're the top natural gas producer in the entire world. We're having a boom right now. Our country is very, very wealthy in terms of natural resources, but yet we're getting poorer. And in fact, a lot of the states that have the most of this natural gas are some of the poorest states, the states that are hardest hit by deindustrialization, Pennsylvania, Michigan. Well, one first step toward moving the country towards socialism would be doing what most countries, or a lot of countries, have done around the world, and nationalizing our natural resources. Oil, natural gas, coal, timber. The profits from the land of the United States of America should go to the people of the United States of America. That are bankrupt while we've got a huge boom in oil and natural gas. It shouldn't be going on like that. The profits should go to the country. Number 2, right now, all across the United States, like I mentioned, roads are being unpaved. Water isn't being properly purified. People are drinking lead in their water, contaminated water. Look at the MTA. It's in complete disrepair. Well, what we need right now is a mass program of infrastructure reconstruction. All these young people stuck in low-wage, short-term jobs should get hired and paid a decent wage to start rebuilding the highways and the bridges, revamping our universities, building a healthier country. We should put the next generation to work. Give them bright green uniforms. Say they're the Army of American Rebirth, and put them out there building high-speed rail and new highways. Let's rebuild the United States. Roosevelt did it during the Great Depression. There's no reason that our current leaders can't do it. That's step number 2. Step number 3. Right before he died, Franklin Delano Roosevelt put forward the idea that we needed an economic Bill of Rights. We have the Bill of Rights, the right to free speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion. But we ought to have an economic Bill of Rights. People ought to have the right to see a doctor when they're sick. People ought to have the right to have a decent home to live in. People ought to have the right to an education. Right? This is basic. This is what Roosevelt called for, and he said that this was a way to safeguard democracy. Roosevelt famously said that hungry stomachs are what dictatorships are made from, and that in order to safeguard democracy and freedom, you have to make sure that people are cared for. That if you don't want to have some kind of authoritarian nightmare, you need to provide for people. That'd be step number 3, Roosevelt's economic Bill of Rights. And step number 4, banking. Now, maybe you don't want to read Karl Marx, maybe you think that stuff's a little too radical. That's fine. You can read an obscure document people don't really read much these days. It's called the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the United States says that only the federal government has the right to print money. Only the federal government has the right to print money. Well, that's been gotten rid of. Right now we have a private corporation, the Federal Reserve, that is printing our money. And for every dollar that they print, we are getting even more deeper in debt. And like I said, maybe Karl Marx, all that stuff's a little too radical for you. Well, read the Bible, or read the Torah, or read the Quran. Every major religion forbids usury, lending money at interest. They say that capitalism is great because you can work hard and get ahead, right? We've heard that before. You work hard and get ahead. Well, I've got news for you folks, that lending money at interest is having money. It's getting money by having money. That's not working hard to get ahead. And what it leads to, the reason that every civilization in history has warned against it, is because it leads to a creditor class that has more money than everybody else and rules over society. And that's what we're dealing with right now. At this point, all of our governments are in debt. We're completely beholden to these bankers that have control over our economy, right? Well, I think that the lending of money should be in the hands of the community. Somebody wants to open a business, instead of going to some banker, they should go to the community and make a case that their business or their community or their business or their project will be beneficial to the entire community. And if they determine that, we'll lend them the money to do it. And then when they start paying back their loan, the interest or the revenue will go into the state budget. And we can build more hospitals and more schools and make sure we have decent roads and Amtraks and all kinds of things, right? So those are the 4 steps. Those are the 4 steps. Take control of our oil and natural resources, infrastructure development, pass the Economic Bill of Rights of Roosevelt, and control of our banking system. That's socialism. Now, notice that doesn't sound very radical, does it? That doesn't sound too radical, you know. There's no blood in the streets. No one's getting killed here. There's no Russian guys in fur hats are showing up at your house and saying, "This place now belongs to the government." None of that. You know, I'm sorry. I'm not a socialist because I want to destroy the United States of America. That's not what I'm in this for. I'm a socialist because I want to save the United States of America. You know. Tell you, the 100th anniversary of the Russian Revolution just happened. And there's a lot of eulogizing of that time going on across the United States right now and across the world. People were all kind of giving homage. People behaved very heroically during the Russian Revolution. But if you look at what was going on at that point, I mean, that was a kill-or-be-killed situation. People were starving to death. People were miserable. I don't want things to get to that point in the United States of America. You know, when you're 15, you want to be Che Guevara, you want to, be a hero, what's one thing? But in reality, I don't want anything like that to happen. I want to save this country from some kind of violent catastrophe. I don't want us ever to get in a situation where those kind of events are going on. Things were quite hard during that time period. We don't want to get there. No rational person wants to live through events like that, where you have death on that large of a scale and that many people that are suffering and dying. Let's be clear about that. Let's be rational. The glorification of violence, that's something that every serious revolutionary has always rejected. Punchism, adventurism, ultra-leftism. Serious revolutionaries, they don't glorify that kind of thing. And you can read that. Revolutions, violent revolutions are kill-or-be-killed situations where people have no choice, where people are forced to take up arms. They have no choice. They're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their communities. It's a nightmarish situation that none of us want to be involved in. We want to save our country. We want to get to the point that we can have a decent society.